a lot of us are fortunate that we're with friends and family right now.
That's so true. And there are a lot of people out there, by the way, Chris, you're talking about staying in touch and calling people. A lot of people I've seen doing video calls like what we're doing right now to stay in touch with people, FaceTime, Zoom conference calls, Skyping each other. It's a great time to catch up with people that maybe you've kind of fallen out of touch with. For me, I'll tell you guys, all you have to do is check out my Instagram page and you'll see that I somehow have managed to let my son run in puddles and roll in dirt and snow pretty much every day that this whole situation has been going on. I'm feeling like it's a time I got a little more time to clean them up when we get back inside. So it's a good time to try and do that. All right, so let's switch and talk about the campaign. Kayleigh, no surprise, seems like there is a lot of misinformation out there right now. While the Democrats and the media were obsessing over impeachment, President Trump actually took early and effective action to stop the spread of coronavirus. Tell our viewers about the timing of President Trump's response effort. Just how early did President Trump actually act?
Yeah, Lara, this was really on the ground from the beginning. In January, this president had a coronavirus task force put together. He instituted mandatory quarantines, travel restrictions on China. This was a game changer. Dr. Fauci said this literally helped to abate the crisis. As the president noted, it saved lives. And it's notable that these travel restrictions were the same ones that Joe Biden called xenophobic and hysterical and fear-mongering that are now being praised by the experts for literally having saved lives. I'm so proud of this president. He's done so much good, and he was on the ground from the beginning.
Yeah, well, not only, Kayleigh, no surprise, has the liberal media criticized the president on timing, they told several lies about President Trump's timing on providing tests to the American people. Share with the people watching right now a little bit about President Trump's extraordinary effort to provide tests, ventilators, and masks.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, everyone should be tuning into these coronavirus task force briefings. You learned so much, and it's just impressive to see this level of response. On the tests you noted, we learned from the briefing that 10 million tests have been put into the commercial market with the expectation of 27 million tests, free tests, by the way, being put in by the end of the week, 500 million masks added to the stockpile. In fact, when we're going and looking at tests in South Korea, they did the number of tests in 8 weeks that we did in 8 days. So we are a nation that is testing our civilians to make sure everyone's healthy, getting masks and personal protective equipment to our first responders, who are our heroes, our healthcare workers on the front line. And it's a notable contrast to Joe Biden, who during the H1N1 swine flu epidemic made comments that were contrary to medical advice, had to be cleaned up by Obama, didn't replenish the supply of masks, literally at the recommendation of an independent task force, did not refill the stockpile. President Trump's cleaning up the mess of Joe Biden, and I'm very proud of him.
Yeah. Well, Kayleigh, thank you for that information. I think that that's something a lot of people out there are probably really happy to hear, because you're not hearing that out there. The mainstream media, of course, is spending time attacking the president. The Democrats have also, no surprise again, been playing politics with the economic stimulus package to help support the American people. How do you think the American public is going to respond to this?
Yeah, the American people are going to reject it. You have the Democrats who, as of the weekend, last weekend, we had a bipartisan deal put together that was going to bring relief to the American people. Guess what? It all blew up when Nancy and Chuck came back to town, because they had a leftist wish list that they wanted to put in there. They wanted to shove in there the Green New Deal, carbon requirements, literally holding hostage relief for the American people. But this crossed the finish line finally in the Senate. The same bill that Democrats voted against, they then voted for 96-0. It's now lingering in the House. We'll see what happens there. But this is a $2 trillion stimulus package that gives so much good to the American people: student loan debt relief, direct payments to the American people, loans to small businesses to incentivize paying their workforce. This is a big deal, and it's only made possible because of President Trump, and Democrats disgustingly politicize this every step of the way.
Yeah, it's sort of shocking whenever you really get into what they tried to put into this package. Sort of unbelievable. All right, Chris, I want to turn to you for a second. There's a notion that campaigns are suspended out there, but that is incorrect. Instead, we have actually done what we're doing right now. We've built a virtual campaign The Trump campaign is definitely one of the best built out there. Share with us about what Trump Talk is. You've got a team across the entire country still doing phone calls, connecting with volunteers. Tell us what's going on out there with the campaign.
That's a great question, Laura. Thank you. When our team first began exercising social distancing, our first priority was to check on our staff and our volunteers. Our field team started calling volunteers to check in, make sure that they were okay, offered to pick up groceries or help with anything that they needed. And what we heard was concern, of course, but also relief that President Trump is leading the charge against this invisible enemy. They love knowing he's doing these regular press briefings, these updates. They love knowing our team is here, ready to help if needed. And now our volunteers, they're getting trained in new ways so they can support the president with all of this happening. One example that I was mentioning to you guys before we started this show tonight is an example of how we're helping our volunteers. We have a field organizer in Florida. Her name's Kathy. Kathy was calling volunteers this past Saturday. She called Shirley, one of our top volunteers in Florida. Shirley and her husband, a Navy veteran who's ill, they have no family. Shirley needed help getting groceries, but feared getting out in public because of her age and because of the exposure to the virus, of course, and because of she's following health guidelines. Kathy has shopped for Shirley and her husband now twice since Saturday. Kathy checks on them by phone on a regular basis. Shirley and her husband are Democrats and are big supporters of President Trump. Another thing I'd like to point out is that we have a lot of volunteers who are sharing how they're helping those in need during this pandemic, such as contributing to their favorite charity, donating blood. President Trump has the finest volunteers in the country, and they're stepping up in every way to keep our country safe.
Oh my gosh, what great stories, Chris. I'd like to point that out to people out there. I've actually done that here in my neighborhood. I have neighbors who are high risk, and I told them, send me what you want. I'll literally just leave it at your front door for you. So I've been able to shop and help them a little bit, which has felt really good. It's great to be able to do that if you're not a high risk person. And we also have seen some really incredible things. We actually have heard stories from people all across this country. One of the places we did a Women for Trump and Latinos for Trump event has now transitioned to make hand sanitizer. So they're a distillery. But that brings us to another point. Small businesses all across this country are hurting right now. Many of them had to close their doors in the face of this pandemic. Workers have been laid off, and it's a really sad reality that we're facing as a country. How will President Trump bolster the economy and protect American workers going forward?
Yeah, he's done just that, Lara. Look, you mentioned small businesses, the heart and the lifeblood of our economy. This new stimulus package that President Trump put into place and is putting into place, I should say, we're awaiting the House vote, but it provides them with retention loans, which basically incentivizes them to pay their workers throughout what is a temporary shutdown we're experiencing now, a paid sick and family leave, a $2 trillion stimulus plan, unemployment benefits, student loan waivers. I literally can't get it all in because there's so much, HUD basically waiving foreclosures for people who have certain mortgages right now, and evictions too, and nutritional aid for families. And just before we came to air, Lara, I want to share these numbers with you. We learned that the private sector is stepping up. We learned from the vice president that Walmart is creating 150,000 jobs, Amazon 10,000, CVS 50,000 plus bonuses, and Pizza Hut 50,000 jobs. So thank you, private sector, for working with this president, for stepping up and giving jobs to the American people.
Wow, that's so great to hear. In a time like this, we could all use some good news. So that is really great news, Kayleigh. Thank you. Chris, I want to turn back to you. We know the president has reached a deal with the Senate for an economic stimulus package. It's going to provide great relief for the American workers of this country, but Democrats have slowed it down. What happened with this?
Well, the Senate Democrats, as we all know, they came to their senses, and thankfully they did. And frankly, now it's time for Nancy Pelosi to do the same. She needs to wake up and pass this bill. Nancy Pelosi is shamelessly using this moment as a political opportunity to try and pass her unpopular leftist liberal agenda. And Americans don't want this agenda. Rather, they need our help, and they need our help now.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Kayleigh, there was an agreement, as Chris just mentioned, on a $2 trillion stimulus relief package to help the American people. But it all changed with Nancy coming and getting involved. it actually took President Trump to pull together a bipartisan coalition and get it passed. Tell our viewers about that and what happened.
Yeah, and look, Steve Mnuchin, who's worked very closely with the president, has literally been on the phone nonstop trying to cobble this together. It should be a basic understanding that at a time of crisis, our nation comes together. All of a sudden, that R at the end of your name and that D at the end of your name, noting Republican or Democrat, should not matter, because we should have a singular focus, which is making sure that all of the men and women viewing this, who might be scared, who might be experiencing unemployment, get compensated, get a paycheck. President Trump has been doing that since day one, calling private sector into the White House, putting together this deal, brokering it with Steve Mnuchin and the team, and then Democrats come and try to blow it up for carbon credits. That's ridiculous. It's disrespectful. It's an insult to the American people watching. And for Joe Biden, on the heels of this passing in the Senate, as it moves toward the House, for him to come out and say, well, perhaps we can shove the Green New Deal into a future relief package, that is shameful. That's not what America needs right now. We need to come together, and I'm proud that President Trump is leading.
Yeah. There's something I've been thinking about when it comes to President Trump. We're so lucky as a country that we have had President Trump in the White House for over 3 years now, really getting our economy moving, making sure that we were really at the very, very top. Think about how well our country was doing just a few short weeks ago before this coronavirus situation. Had there been another person in the White House, that may not have been the case, but it's all the more reason that when we get out of this and life goes back to normal, we're going to see the economy rebound. We have a president who understands how to do that. It's great news that Donald Trump has set us up so well that we will be able to come back. I also think about, Kayleigh, what would this country look like maybe if Joe Biden and the Democrats had been at the helm? Oh, did we lose Kayleigh? Chris, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Okay. Well, Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Maybe Kayleigh's going to log back on. I continue to think about how disastrous it could have been. Thinking about someone other than Donald Trump being in the White House, thinking about Democrats
that's another great question. And it's funny we're talking about this because we both remember 2016. Every time the mainstream news came out with their fake polls in 16, we knew they were wrong, and we proved them wrong, obviously.
Yep.
But every time there was a fake poll or some fake news story about us, our volunteer numbers spiked. We saw this last week with the attacks on the president, unfair criticism when he's doing such a good job. We had a huge number of folks that signed up to help. We had right at 50,000 people that signed up last Friday for our National Day of Action. In fact, we had so many people that we were able to make historic amounts of phone calls. Last week, we completed 3.2 million phone calls in one week. On Saturday, of that 3.2, we were able to do 1.5 million calls just in one day on Saturday. And that's because of the volunteers. That's because of the support for our president.
Wow. Yes, and we're calling you out there. We know you're home. You're supposed to be home because we're also supposed to be doing our part, Chris, right? To make sure we're not spreading coronavirus. So we know you're home, so we're calling you. How many calls have been made to date, Chris, so far?
So as we call it, cycle to date, we've done 7 million volunteer phone calls. And the purpose for all this voter contact, because I'm sure we have a lot of people on tonight, they may be new to a campaign. The reason why it's important to contact voters is because we do three things. We do voter registration, which has been easier than I've ever experienced under this president, because he brings so many new people off the sidelines and into the campaign who support the president and his agenda. And we do voter persuasion because there are voters who are on the fence, as we say. And then we do get out the vote post Labor Day. Those are the three things that we do. So when we're talking about National Week of Training, National Day of Action, we're practicing to get ready to do all those three things that I just outlined for you.
Yeah, great. Well, we have something that we're calling the Army for Trump. And I know that that's something you've been really closely connected with. For all of our viewers out there, walk us through what is the Army for Trump? What does that mean? And tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the campaign just recently launched this website, Army for Trump. We'll take 2 minutes. I think we're going to show everyone the website that they can follow along. So right now they should hopefully be looking at the home page of the site. There's a video, a welcome video, and it talks about the different opportunities to be engaged. Just some of the things I'll just go through some of the things that you can do and some of the videos that are featured on the website. Talks about how you can become a digital activist. On the website, you can watch different videos, which provides explanations about different ways to help on social media, from how to create your own account, Instagram, Facebook, to who you should follow and retweet or share, media from.
Yeah, well, we all need to know where we can get the real news because sometimes there is some fake information out there. What else can you do on this site? Can you sign up for the calls that you were mentioning earlier?
Absolutely. So you just go back to the home page. You can click on Make Calls on Trump Talk. Again, there's a quick tutorial on how you sign up to do it. And the great thing is you just do it from the comfort of your own home. It's not like the day where you had to, drive 15, 20 minutes away from the family and sit in a folding chair for 3 hours and go through this standard script. You can do it from home now. And I think that's another reason why we have so much success. We make it easy for our volunteers because everyone's busy with their everyday lives. But also, once we're done with the social distancing that we're all doing right now, there's going to be an opportunity to knock on doors. We found in 2016, there's no better way to do the three things, right? Voter registration, persuasion, and turnout. And that's face-to-face interaction with your families. This will be very important for us. And then there's an option to register voters. There are a lot of neighbors that we all have and we may know that they may be the biggest Trump fans, but guess what? They may not realize until it's too late that they're not registered to vote, or they moved and they didn't re-register. Well, guess whose responsibility that is to get them registered? Us as neighborhood team members. We should be doing that. You can also choose to join the election day team. This is focused on helping with our Get Out the Vote effort. That's again that I mentioned earlier. That's going to start post Labor Day, and it's going to be the largest and final push for this president because we need 4 more years of President Trump, and I think we all agree on that.
You got that right, Chris.
Yes,
that
we
is
do
for sure. Kayleigh's back. Hello.
I'm
Kayleigh.
back. The challenges of working from home, you really appreciate our producers out there and our cameraman. They do just such great work.
That's exactly right. Well, Chris just walked us through the Army for Trump. And listen, whether you're talking about social media, staying informed, making calls, knocking doors, the Army for Trump really is the place to go to get involved with the campaign and make sure we reelect Donald Trump. Because Chris, you said it, we need 4 more years. And I just want to say how important it is to make sure that the ladies are getting involved. We have hundreds of women watching right now. Thank you so much to the ladies that took time away from your families, your projects, whatever you're doing to join us. And we really hope that you consider becoming part of our Women for Trump Coalition, volunteering with the campaign. It's so important. And listen, we all want to make sure that we get 4 more years of Donald Trump now more than ever, now that we see the crisis we're in and we know the only person that can dig us out of this hole is Donald J. Trump. So we need 4 more years. Chris and Kayleigh, I want to say thank you to you guys for being on tonight. Kayleigh, any closing words that you'd like to say for the folks at home?
Yeah, I want to say the American people, they're recognizing truth right now. They're recognizing leadership. They're looking at this president and they're saying to Gallup, look, 60% of us approve of how he's responding to this crisis. We have a leader at the helm. And Lara, I've traveled the road with you on the Women for Trump bus tour to all of our rallies. And I've heard incredible stories about the president changing lives, in Phoenix, a Vietnam veteran who finally got the health care he deserved and needed in Las Vegas, a man who has a business because of Trump opportunity zones, and a young man in Battle Creek who's a beneficiary of the First Step Act and got to be home with his family for Christmas. I've seen the president change lives. And right now, the president is saving lives across this country. This could have been so much worse. And I'm so thankful we have a president who changes lives and who saved lives. So thank you, President Trump.
Absolutely. Chris, anything you want to say to the folks watching us at home?
Well, thank you. And thank everyone who joined us tonight. Again, follow the guidelines, whitehouse.gov, coronavirus.gov. And on a very serious note, God bless our president and the coronavirus task force. We can't be any more prouder than we are of the job that he's doing in the task force. So, guys, just exercise common sense, and we look forward to working with you as we reelect, at least in my lifetime, the greatest president. So, thank you very much, Lara.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kayleigh. And thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. Please make sure to sign up online at women.donaldjtrump.com. Text Empower to 88022 and become a part of our Army for Trump. And we look forward to seeing everybody soon. We're going to continue to do things virtually until we can see you in person. Until then, stay safe and healthy, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight.